Hi guys, welcome to the Savvy Money Show with me, your host Sean. I apologise for any background noise because we are outside and it is unavoidable, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Anyway, just so that you know, those of you who have been long-standing subscribers, thank you so much. You make this channel, but you will have seen some of the stocks in previously, but for those who are new, this is for you. Now, you will have noticed that the long subscribers, that I did a video saying how Tesla isn't guaranteed S&P inclusion, and like Tesla going up on the back of that, you know, rocketing up on the back of that. That's why I sold at 17.98 when people were saying, "Oh, it's going to skyrocket on the back of that." I said it just activated the algorithm, so it could be. Now, if we look back at the video, we would see that I also said how I think they would not include them, and that I think they would make them wait until the next review, just because even though they could be included when they've had 4 profitable quarters, what they wouldn't want is to include them, make all these companies pick them up, all these ETFs pick them up, and then they have a bad quarter or 4 bad quarters, and then they dump them out of the S&P 500 and for someone else. What they've done instead is they have put Psth in. Now, if you remember, I said Psth when it was $80 a share, and basically we're going to go into my stocks I plan to pick up, and there'll also be some that I'm looking at as well. Now, Psth is well, I'm surprised it hasn't skyrocketed even more. It has gone up from 80, it's gone up 50% from 80, but when you look at Shopify, and I get it, Shopify's better, but a lot of Shopify is from the Amazon dropshipping and all these adverts. These guys have one chance to make it to reach their target audience. If they don't, then they come off it. You have business sellers on there, but a majority of the business, this is just because of the sudden hype around Shopify. A lot of the business sellers who can actually make up their own website because they have their own IT department, they tend to go to other companies that don't charge as much because they don't have to provide the same system. They provide more security, they provide a better platform because they can make up their own website. Now, I think Shopify realised this, and this is why Shopify, sorry about this, this is why Shopify are keen to make all these agreements with all these gigantic goliaths of companies, where if Shopify did have faith in their company that they would keep skyrocketing and they were the best in their arena, they would wait until they were at the top, but they realise they have to adapt, otherwise they would end up topping off and going down. They have to kind of create a moat for themselves. Etsy has sold more masks than any other retailer, any other platform, and I know people, friends of mine, who run business on Etsy. They just prefer it so much to other platforms. Now, I still think Etsy is at a good price. The fact that it's been included in the S&P just goes to show you how those of us who picked it up were correct. It has dipped recently, and even on this news it has dipped. Now is a fantastic entry point if you didn't get in before. Yeah, I would be getting in at this. So, and don't forget to hit that lovely like button, almost as lovely as me. Helps with the YouTube algorithm and getting the video out to more people. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Become part of the Saving Money Show family. We give each other hints and tips and updates about stocks and shares we talk about on the show. As well as that, you can ask me to look into any share you want, and I don't charge a Discord fee or ask for a Patreon. All I do ask is for you to comment in the box below and hit the like button. Even if you disagree with me, especially if you disagree with me, I like a debate. And if I do something wrong, I want you to call me on it so I can improve the channel. And why not check out the links in the description below? There's lots of others. I've used each one of them myself. I wouldn't give you links if I haven't checked them out myself. If you're looking for a free trading platform which should trade your stocks and shares, you know, you can get a free share worth up to £200 for signing up and depositing a small amount. A free trade only requires a £1 deposit. The others require £100 or dollars, depending on which one you go for. Stake has over 3,500 US stocks on their books, which is the biggest one outside of the US. Whereas Trading 212 is one of the best and easiest platforms to use. But as I said, I use all three. Anyway, on with the show. If you remember a few weeks ago, I did a video saying about BT, how it's at its 52-week low. It's actually a 5-year low, and they were trying to fight off a takeover bid. They're actually, and how it's a rumour, and I'll update you when there's more, they've actually gotten Goldman Sachs on board to try and put together a plan to stave off a takeover bid. Now, you have a stock. Now, you've got to remember, AT&T is going to be a huge 5G player in the US. Now, BT is going to be the main 5G player in the UK. They are also the main internet provider in the UK. Doesn't matter who you're with, they still have to pay for the internet to BT to service it. Now, they've had some problems, but they've coped with those problems, and it shouldn't be down here. The other thing with BT is that you have a company that is also ingrained in the rest of Europe as well. It's heavily ingrained in Europe, so they will be a good company to check out. Now, I say check out and not buy, because You know, this is one where they've had to cut the dividend. They didn't have to, but they did it to make sure they had enough money to get themselves through the virus, like, because these guys are still working throughout, considered an essential service, and they are still bringing in money. Now, I think this is going to be a very good play, but you have to work out for yourself what you can do. Now, another UK company, Workspace Group. Now, it's a REIT. I know what I've heard. Work REITs. Why would I want to work REIT? But this has a lot of retail. Not retail, sorry, office. And I've heard it all before. Working from home is the main thing. And look, not everyone has the luxury of working from home. Not every office is going to close down and suddenly work from home. Why? Firstly, they're not going to be able to have the setup. They're not going to be able to transfer. A lot of them are locked into long-term leases anyway, and a lot of staff don't want to. Some of them don't want to work from home, you know, because they have moved to near the offices for work. Some of the bosses, they don't want their staff working from home. They want them to have to come in because they're not paying them extra to do that. They want to know that their staff is working the hours they're paying them for, because they don't trust them not to. Now, you have a company that has free cash flow of 21.8 million. It has assets of 2.735 million and change, and liabilities of 2.735 billion against liabilities of 7 million. So practically 2 billion more in assets than it has in liabilities. So when you look at that, you expect this to be a company that has recovered. And when you look at a 1 year chart, you can see it's still half the price pre-Roni. And you know, I mean, look at that. I do not believe remote working is possible. Everyone's going to be remote work. Sorry about the noise. I do not believe everyone is going to be remote worker. Our office, we have office workers, and during this period they have not made anyone remote worker. They can, purely because they have actually said, if there's a lockdown, we'll get you a computer in a day and you can work from home. However, they then classified us as essential workers, so they didn't do that, even though the declaration was if you can work from home, do. So there's plenty of companies that will not ask you to work from home, just because they don't want to. They want to know what their staff are doing during the day. They don't want you to be faffing about. Say, do a day's work in an hour and then spend the rest of the day mulling about. Now I've spent enough time on this. I will move on to the next one. Tapestry ink. You will notice I've spoke about each one of these in the past, but it's again half its price, half its value from pre-Rona. They're all value stocks of some kind. I believe this one will pay a dividend at some point. I believe Rocket will pay a dividend at some point, but this one, you can see the book value is over $8 a share, and you can see that it's had a loss lately, but I think that will, I think that loss will soon change into profit. You have 5.6 billion liabilities against 8 billion assets. So it's covered, the liabilities are covered, and this is at 1.5 billion cash at end of period, free cash flow of 201 million. Now, has a lot of brands. I think this is one that you should check out if you've bought a more expensive stock. You know, odd $15, chuck in here. Each time you've got an odd $15, chuck in here, and then build up a position that way. Now, next one. Now the next one is Dropbox. I took up a small position, $22. They, you know, I've always liked Dropbox, but they made a loss in 2018. And if you do a deeper dive, the reason they made a loss was they picked up an e-sign business, which was a smooth move on their part, purely because what they did was prepare themselves for the virus. Now they have they're in the e-sign business. I used to get a DocuSign document every week. Now half of them are Dropbox documents. Now they've been killing it with the data services as well. Their losses have been narrowing, and I think it's only a matter of time till they're profitable. I think this year or next year. And if I was ready to buy in at $22-24 a share, definitely willing to buy in at this price. I think it's a steal, and I sold a lot of my DocuSign position to go into this because it has a bigger moat. Now, what happens if once the Rona is over, they suddenly say, sorry, e-sign's no longer a legal document, you need to be in person again in order to save the airline business? DocuSign's over. I don't think they will, but I'm just using an example. But Dropbox will still have their data services. Anyway, let's move on. Now we head to Rocket. Now, I said before, anything on a 35 is worth picking up, and we hit 30. That's when I scooped up. It went down to 26. I scooped up more, average down. It went up. I pulled out my initial investment, and of course now it's gone back down to 25, and I've filled up again and gone in heavier than before. I believe this to be a $45 stock, and I think the company is a little think the company is a little bit, how you say, green when it comes to earnings. So they've done the stock more harm than good. But when it came to talking about people, actually not keeping up with their mortgage payments, I think they're being a bit cautious, because people's houses are, well, let's face it, they've gone up in value everywhere in the US. So rather than having a foreclosure, they're better off selling and downgrading and paying off their mortgage than having that happen. Anyway, I've done a video on it before, so I won't carry on with this. Now, if you remember when Lemonade IPO'd, I said it's not worth getting into. I did a deep dive video on it, said it wasn't worth getting into at $89 a share. It would have to be under $60, preferably $50 to enter. I went in at 52, it jumped up over 60. I sold, keeping 1 or 2 shares, and then sorry about that. Then when it dropped down to 47 recently, I've gone back in. Of course, this is a speculative pay, and it's one that's worth going into when it's under $50. Anything under 50 or under 55 is worth it, in my opinion. Now we head to the next one. Nordstrom. I've done a full video on them. They've improved their online sector. They don't deserve to be down here. I think not only will they come back up, they will improve on what they was pre-Rona. And I picked up some here, it went up. I sold because I needed the money for something else. Picked up some here and it jumped up. I did the same thing again, seeing that it was too quick a jump up. And basically it's a stock that's well worth going into if you're going to hold it long term. It doesn't pay a dividend, obviously, a lot of these don't, but it's one that I think will end up paying a dividend. Now, CVS. Now this is one that does pay a dividend, and at the moment, sorry about the noise, it's not so much a valuation or undervalued, it's more about one that's paying you a 3.28% dividend, and if a second wave comes, which I expect one to come in the winter, this is one that will flourish then. Not only that, if they start a vaccination program, they are going to need companies like CVS to actually give out the vaccinations. They can't just rely on the doctors and have appointments with doctors. They need to have people going, companies like CVS. Anyway, I've done a full video on them, so I'm not going to spend too much time on. Walgreens Boots Alliance. Now, I have mixed feelings on these, purely because a few years ago there was protests in London over them, because everyone was facing hardship, and these guys were getting away without paying their tax. These guys on Vodafone, just because they set up a mailbox abroad and called it their head office. No, they're now the Tories got in, and all of a sudden those investigations went away. Since then, it's come to light. The NHS has been paying £25-30 for mouthwash that should be under £1. So, you know, that kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. On the other hand, they're at a 52-week, from an investor point of view, they're at a 52-week low, almost half what they was, and they pay a cracking dividend, 5%. On top of that, they are a well-known company across the US, across the UK, and I think there are people who think, oh no, they're going down the hill, they're not going to do that well. They have an amazing amount of stores across the world. They have an amazing online platform set up. Not only that, people are not looking at the software setup. They have a rewards platform like the Boots card that tracks and exacts they have a rewards platform that tracks everything you spend, and that is invaluable for them. Remember, data is the new money. So these guys are heavily positioned in this, and I think at this valuation it's definitely a buy. I have a big position in them, and like, I'm tearing my hair out because I don't want to be too big a position in them, but I'm wondering whether or not I should be averaging down. I got in at $40 a share. I'm wondering to come down, but it's not enough, low enough to make me average down at the moment. But I am torn. I just think it's such a low position. Anyway, of course, what can you say about Facebook? Yeah, I think it could be the next $1 trillion company. Yeah, I bought it in when the analyst said not to, because I had a look at it, and I'm kicking myself for not buying in more. Now, you just have to look at that balance sheet. Now, 29.2 billion in liabilities, 68 billion current assets, total assets 139.5 billion. Now,
please use all available space throughout the station
like that.
And stay 2 meters away
Free
from
cash flow at 23
times.
billion.
Please give others space to alight the bus before approaching the vehicle. Thank you.
The big criticism was they were running out of new people to go on their platform. So what did they do? They laid fibre in Africa so new people could go on it. I won't say anymore.